North Korea is like Game of Thrones, but without the dragons. It's an aristocratic society and it's capitalist. And everything is geared to make sure that there's as much cash for Kim as is possible.
자본주의 나라도 이제 돈이라는 게 이제 피라고 이야기할 수 있는 거 아니겠습니까?
Bureau 39 is involved in everything that makes money for North Korea. Selling arms, smuggling of drugs, counterfeiting of US bills. This is about hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
전 다 해요. 전 everything. 어제 우리가 하는 일은 말하자면 make dollars.
North Korea, the pariah state. A dictatorship shrouded in mystery. Every day, the official newspapers praise the heroic deeds of the dear leader. Time seems to stand still here. North Korea has the fourth largest army in the world. For 3 generations, the Kim family has ruled the country with an iron fist. But how does the regime manage to survive despite severe UN sanctions? And how come Kim Jong-un has enough money to threaten the world with the most powerful weapon of all time, the nuclear bomb? Far from North Korea, a history professor is working on answers to these questions. Remco Breuker from the University of Leiden in the Netherlands has been studying the enigmatic country and its rulers for years. He says our image of North Korea is wrong.
North Korea isn't what it tells it is. Just look at the country functions at the highest level. What is the main goal of the government, of the regime, I should say? It's to make money, it's to make cash for Kim. What intrigues me personally is how North Korea manages to make money. One of the questions we were stuck with is, where does the money go? How much money does North Korea make?
For North Korea's leadership, questions like these are dangerous.
The North Korean regime sent a letter of indictment under my name to the Dutch government, charging me with 3 capital crimes. The worst of the 3 was the accusation that our research, my research, it was in my name, damaged the supreme dignity of the supreme leader. Now this sounds like it's a funny crime, right? It's damaging the supreme dignity of somebody. In North Korea, it carries the death penalty.
A serious threat. Remco Breuker's investigations threaten to disrupt North Korea's cash flow. The country is internationally isolated because of its nuclear program. Without legal sources of income, the regime has taken to raising money illegally. New York, the seat of the United Nations. Since 2006, the UN has imposed 9 rounds of sanctions against North Korea. These measures are monitored by an international panel of experts. The panel consists of 8 members, including ex-intelligence, military, and financial experts. For their own safety, they work in secret. Only the coordinator, Hugh Griffiths, is willing to speak on camera.
The sanctions have a tremendous impact on one level on North Korea. It means that their economy can't flourish in the way it would if they were able to sell their largest foreign currency earning commodities legitimately. So they can't ship coal legitimately. They can't ship iron ore legitimately. They can't ship zinc legitimately. Foreign currency is very important to any country, no matter how autarkic its economy. You need foreign currency to buy the goods that are essential for your population or for your elite group. So foreign currency is pretty essential to North Korea's survival. The question is, what's more important to the North Korean leadership, developing a nuclear and ballistic missile program or seeing their economy flourish?
The regime decided to go for the bomb. In 2005, it officially announced that it had nuclear weapons as a protection against attacks from the outside and to strengthen its power on the inside. Pyongyang, the city of the chosen. Brand new apartment blocks lined spotlessly clean avenues. Here is where Pyongyang's upper class resides. Only those who are considered loyal to the regime live here. Those who want to enter the capital from the outside need a permit. Song Hyun-chul from Pyongyang's Economic Research Institute. He's authorized to talk to journalists, for example, about the sanctions.
완전한 제재는 불가능하다. 우리도 지금 제재 속에서도 일종하게 대경제 사업은 하고 있습니다. 제재를 하겠으면 하라. 하든 안 하든 우리는 우리 힘, 우리 기술, 우리 발전 방식을 가지고 살아나간다는 것. 우리식 자력갱생을 번영의 보검으로 틀어지고 계속 앞으로 나갈 것이라는 것. 이렇게 생각합니다.
The sanctions that have been put on North Korea are extremely strict. I mean, there's probably not been a country that has been sanctioned more diversely and more strictly. At the same time, they're no longer working. There is a huge problem with our North Korea policy and using sanctions to try and have the regime modify its behavior. Because we're not sanctioning the one entity that earns most of its money, that keeps it afloat financially, that keeps it alive.
Many high-ranking defectors from North Korea talk about a secret government department that's said to administer the regime's secret funds. Allegedly, Kim Il-sung and his son Kim Jong-un set it up in the late 1970s and equipped it with wide-ranging powers. Its tasks? Securing an independent power base for the Kims and raising money for the nuclear bomb and the leader's personal luxury. Its name, Bureau 39. Only 200 kilometers to the southeast, Seoul, South Korea's hypermodern capital, one of the 10 most expensive cities in the world. Around 25 million people live in the metropolitan area, about half the population of South Korea. Among them, most of the 30,000 people who managed to flee from North Korea. Ko Young-hwan was a North Korean diplomat. He escaped in 1991. Later, he was deputy director of South Korea's Institute for National Security Strategy. Few people know more about the Kim regime's workings than he does.
김정일 국방위원장이 취임을 하면서 노동당 재정경리부 3층 9호실에 이름을 따서 39호실이라고 만들었다는 설이 있고 김정일 위원장이 3월 9일 날 이런 39호실을 만들어라. 그래서 39호실이 됐다는 설이 있는데 지금까지도 39호실은 김정은의 비자금을 담당하는 부서입니다.
Talk to any prominent North Korean exile and they'll all tell you that Bureau 39 is absolutely crucial in earning revenues for the North Korean regime. It's absolutely vital. Take it away, everything collapses.
Here in New York, the United Nations impose and monitor the sanctions against North Korea. An entity as important as Bureau 39 should be heading the list of banned organizations.
Office 39 is normally talked about by North Korean defectors. We don't really see Office 39 in our investigations. Instead, we're looking at the North Korean banks and the shell companies that traditionally operate overseas in third countries to generate foreign currency, and then that money is sent back to North Korea.
Bureau 39 outside of North Korea is not called Bureau 39. Nobody identifies as somebody who works for Bureau 39. So it's very difficult to slap sanctions on people you don't really know are active.
Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Since the 1980s, North Korea has been procuring foreign currency here in the heart of Africa. Ko Young-hwan witnessed a particularly spectacular case at the time.
콩고 민주공화국에 있었는데 돈을 찍는 공장을 가지고 있습니다. 미국 외화를, 달러를 찍어냈습니다. 1달러짜리 지폐를 사서, 그건 진폐입니다. 1달러짜리를 지워버리고 그 위에 100달러짜리를 인쇄하는 방법으로 처음엔 그렇게 썼어요. 처음에 쓰던 방법은 어떻게 썼는가 하면 달러를 바꾸는 밀매업자들한테 가서 100달러짜리 뭉치에다가 가운데다가 2, 3천 불을 유저 지폐를 넣어서 10,000달러다. 그러면 다 이렇게 봐요. 그럼 10,000달러치를 주제국 돈으로 줘요. 그럼 주제국 돈을 받아가지고 그걸 중앙은행에다 넣고 중앙은행에서 3달러를 받아가지고 그걸 평양에 가져가서 결국은 39호실에 들어가는 거고.
Bureau 39 never acts openly, but its fundraising activities span the globe. Angkor Wat in Cambodia, a World Heritage Site. Over 2.5 million people visit the old Khmer temples every year. Selfies for the tourists. Foreign exchange for Cambodia. Angkor Wat's operating company earned more than $100 million in 2018. Tourism is by far the largest industry here. A lucrative business. Also for North Korea. Right next to the entrance to the temples, a museum that opened in 2015. At its heart is a 3D painting that depicts the history of the Khmer Empire in monumental images. Throngs of tourists are guided through here every day.
So for the painter, they're from North Korea. We have 63 painters. They took 1 year and 4 months to painting.
And who constructed it? Was it Cambodian or North Korean as well?
The North Korean as well. The North Korean construct the museum.
Circumventing UN sanctions, North Korea not only built the complex, but also financed it. In return, the North Koreans collect all the revenues for the first 10 years. After that, they'll share the profits. The North Korean CEO doesn't want to appear in front of the camera, but he says the museum makes about $7 million a year in entrance fees alone. Soon, this figure is supposed to double. Cambodia and North Korea have maintained close relations for decades. Kim Il-sung and Cambodia's King Norodom Sihanouk were good friends. A solid basis for today's business ties that contravene UN sanctions. In the evening when the museum closes, the North Koreans throw another set of doors open for the hungry tourists. They don't want cameras in the restaurant, so we film in secret.
Yeah, we had a reservation yesterday. What name did you have?
The tables are almost always fully booked.
Can we sit? Can we also sit near the sea? Okay, then we sit here. Okay. Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah, all right.
The menu boasts North Korean specialties, such as cold noodles and sea cucumber. The prices are surprisingly high by Cambodian standards. A main course costs up to $50. In particular, tourists from China and South Korea visit the restaurant. The young women who serve here are mostly art students from Pyongyang. They live and sleep above the restaurant and are often not allowed to leave the premises for years. Every evening at the same time, they change their costumes and get ready for the big show. There are 130 such North Korean restaurants worldwide, 3 of them in Cambodia. They're said to make several $1 million a year, but the waitresses don't get paid for their work. The dollars flow directly into the regime's secret coffers. No other country exploits its population as systematically as North Korea. North Korean workers are deployed worldwide, even in the European Union, in Poland. Here we encounter North Korean work brigades on a building site. They've been promised good wages and decent working conditions, only to be treated like slaves. In the evening, after a 12-hour shift, the workers are driven to their barracks. They're monitored around the clock by North Korean state security. Still, one of them decides to talk.
혼자 나오시는데 괜찮으셨어요?
예, 일요일에는 혼자 나오는 게 괜찮습니다.
만약에 들키시면 어떻게 되세요?
문책을 당하지요. 법에 끌려가서 문책당하고 그리고 조사받지요. 조사받고 마지막에 이 조사가 심해지면 평양에 끌려가가지고 거기서 또 조사해가지고 마지막에는 종당에는 감옥에 가게 되지요.
여기 직장이 있으신 거죠?
네, 저는 30대인데 우리 집 사람하고 딸을 고향에 두고 혼자 돈 벌러 나왔죠. 네, 그런데 아무리 일을 많이 해도 돈을 모으기가 너무 힘들어요. 네, 형편없지요. 아무데나 갈 수도 없고 자유가 없어요. 조 단위로 같이 생활하니까 우리 임금이 다 뜯기는 거 알고 계시죠? 우리한테 지어지는 건 조금밖에 안 돼요. 다 뜯기지만은 그래도 집사람하고 딸이 있기 때문에 할 수 없이 이거 해야 되는 그런 방법밖에 없어요.
Modern slavery. North Korea sends well-trained workers to Poland to toil in shipyards and on construction sites. The workers' families are held hostage in North Korea. If the worker flees, the family at home is often severely punished. The workers only earn about 90 euros per month. The rest goes to the regime. Cash for Kim. Largely unnoticed by the international community, North Korea has sent laborers all over the world, up to 150,000 in all. About 40,000 of them are in Russia, and up to 100,000 in China. North Koreans also work in Kuwait, Malaysia, Cambodia, Mongolia, Oman, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and in African countries. Under UN sanctions, these workers need to go back to North Korea, but the practice still continues. Experts estimate that the regime makes up to $1 billion a year this way.
어떤 방식으로 하던 돈이 모이는 최종 집합지는 39호실. 요거는 39호실에서 하는 겁니다. 그러면 거기서 손을 못 대는 거죠.
Defectors say that Bureau 39 is directly controlled by Kim Jong-un. It manages the leadership's secret accounts, the so-called palace economy. But where in Pyongyang is Bureau 39 located? And how many millions flow into its coffers? When we ask the North Korean official, he and his translator pretend not to know.
무슨 39층 소리 하는데 오일에서 알고 계시는 39층이라는 거지. 나도 지금 뒤에 앉아서 질문이 무슨 소리야? 39층? 아파트가 39층? 일어났어요.
Bureau 39 is one of the best-kept secrets of the Kim regime. Only North Koreans who've escaped can talk about it openly. Seoul. At a secret location, we meet a man who used to work for Bureau 39. He was based in China. His task? Smuggling foreign currency. Then he escaped. His position was so important that today the North Korean regime threatens to kill him. This is why he had plastic surgery to alter his face. Even so, he only wants to be filmed from behind.
이제 북한의 경제는 사회주의 계획 경제가 아니니까 그 사회주의 계획 경제는 이제 국가가 모든 주민들에게 이제 식량을 비롯해서 뭐 모든 걸 공급하는 이제 그러한 체계 돌아가는 게 이제 계획 경제거든요. 근데 이제 북한이 이러한 것들을 이미 이제 포기를 했습니다. 그래서 일반 주민들에 대한 그러한 뭐 식량 공급이라든가 뭐 이제 생활 필수품이라든가 이러한 공급들은 이제 다 포기했고요. 나머지 사람들은 다 시장에 이제 우고해서 살아가고 있습니다. 그러니까
To understand Bureau 39 and the capitalist structures of North Korea, it's important to understand its history. In 1991, the Soviet Union breaks up. North Korea loses one of its most important trading partners. While many former socialist states now rely on market economics, the Kims continue to isolate themselves. When Kim Jong-il takes over from his late father in 1994, a famine breaks out.
During the Great Famine in the mid-90s, many North Koreans starved to death. The public distribution system collapsed. Witnesses describe seeing mountains of dead bodies in the streets. Anywhere between 1 to 3 million North Koreans died. So what happened is that North Koreans now knew that if they wanted to survive, they could no longer trust or rely on the state.
From then on, the rural population in particular had to be self-sufficient. Black markets started to emerge all over North Korea. They're called jangmadang. All sorts of currencies are accepted, especially American dollars and Chinese yuan. Today there are countless of these markets throughout the country. 400 of them are even officially licensed and provide tax income for the regime. Mainly food and goods from China are bartered and sold here.
뭐 잘 알다시피 북중 국경이라는 게 몇 킬로 남아가 이제 그 국경을 맞대고 있습니다. 거의 뭐 한 제가 알고는 한 70-80% 지역의 그 위치에는 그런 철조망 같은 것도 없거든요. 이걸 통해서 주민들, 국가가 통제하지 않는 이런 주민들의 교역이 아주 활발하게 진행되고 있는 거로 제가 알고 있습니다.
So the regime tried to control the market, but it knows it can't, because if it shuts down the market without having in place another public distribution system, people die of hunger. And North Koreans are not going to let that happen again. They know what happened last time. And that's how North Korea really changed from a socialist country with an economy in ruins to a capitalist country with a hybrid economy that looks socialist but really is really capitalist.
The biggest profiteers from these black markets are Pyongyang officials. Because of their loyalty, but mainly out of financial self-interest, the regime allows them to trade. Over the years, they've become rich. They sell luxury goods, smuggle raw materials, and invest in real estate. They're called donju, money lords. They enjoy the luxury and the freedom that the regime grants them, but their loyalty comes at a price. Many donju hold senior government positions, including at Bureau 39. Like this man who's been hiding in Seoul since he escaped. Born in the 90s, he experienced how North Korea developed increasingly capitalist structures. Before his escape, he was responsible for exports, Bureau 39's most lucrative business. Fearing the regime's revenge, he too doesn't want to be recognized.
우리가 흔히 이야기하는 어떤 최고 존엄에 대한 충성심 이런 거는 굉장히 이데올로기적인 거예요. 근데 이데올로기보다도 실은 더 직접적인 거는 내 물질적 만족이에요. 혹은 사회적인 지위 이런 것이 오히려 내가 거기에서 일하는 거에 대한 동기였고 목표였죠. 그거에 가깝게 접근하는 것이 그런 경제 파트에서 일하는 것이라는 걸 선택의 여지를 더 이상 두지 않았고 그랬기 때문에 저희는 그거였어요. 남들과 똑같이.
In that respect at least, North Korea's go-getters are no different from their counterparts in the West.
보회부라든가 검찰이라든가 이 사람들이 함부로 손을 못 댑니다. 왜? 그 사람들은 엄연하게 당에 필요한 외화를 벌고 있기 때문에 이런 안전기관이라든가 보호기관이라든가 검찰기관이 마음대로 이제 어떻게 할 수가 없는 거예요. 웬간하게서 이제 법에 저촉되는 일도 이게 당 외화벌이라고 하게 되면 눈 감아주는 일도 많고 하니까 당연히 북한의 그 엘리트 계층들이 이제 많이 선호를 하고 있죠.
어찌 보면 그냥 다 명칭은 회사이긴 한데 그 회사에 나의 어떤 이런 신분증상에서의 나의 직급, 직위를 나타내는 네임이고 실제 하는 업무는 이제 대외 무역이죠.
실제로 유럽 쪽에서도 사업을 하던 팀들이 있었어요?
그럼 많죠.
유럽에?
많죠.
Hamburg, Germany. Until a few years ago, the North Korean state insurance company KNIC had a branch in an innocuous-looking apartment block here. 6 North Korean officials made deals with major European insurance companies.
대외보험총국이라고 있습니다. 대외보험총국이 한 번은 행정부 이제 보험을 하는데 보험 사기를 합니다. 보험 사기라는 건 어떤 건가 하면 예를 들어서 헬리콥터 몇 대를 러시아제 헬리콥터 Mi-8 같은 헬리콥터를 이제 거의 다 수명이 다간 헬리콥터를 보험을 듭니다. 그래서 재보험을 들어서 영국 로이드 보험회사 같은 데다 이제 재보험을 드는데 그래서 비행기가 이제 비행기 보험을 예를 들어서 $5,000씩 매달 물다가 한 1년쯤 문 다음에 그 비행기를 폭발을 시키든가 불을 지르든가 해서 그 헬리콥터 값을 받아냅니다. 한 $200만 달러면 $200만 달러를 받아가지고.
One case among many. In 2015, the European Union put the North Korean insurance company on their sanctions list. The accusation: co-financing of the nuclear weapons program through Bureau 39. Experts estimate that with crashed helicopters and similar tricks, the Kim regime earned several $100 million.
많은 사람들이 훈장도 받고 그래서 이게 다 버리는 물건을 가지고 이런 돈을 벌 줄은 몰랐다.
But how does the Kim regime manage to transfer the millions it makes to Pyongyang? The answer is simple: through diplomatic channels.
그러한 것들을 하고 있는데 대체로 39호실은 대표부가 나와 있든지 대사관에 소속돼 있든지 이 사람들은 대체로 그 본국의 이제 수출품을 해외에 팔고 이제 그 39호실이 요구하는 물자를 들여보내주고요. 그다음에 이제
North Korea uses its worldwide network of embassies to ferry money back to Pyongyang. North Korean officials enjoying diplomatic immunity carry the money in cash in their flight baggage. A simple but efficient way to ensure the cash flow doesn't stop.
Well, North Korean embassies have a diplomatic function, but that's often mainly ceremonial. But their true function is financial. It's also illegal, mainly. North Korean diplomats are basically cash carriers for Kim. They're entrepreneurs, they're businessmen. They may be drug lords, they may be weapons smugglers, but they carry a diplomatic passport, so you can't touch them.
Berlin. Right in the middle of the city lies the North Korean embassy. The North Koreans have been renting out one of the buildings as a hostel for tourists. They've been earning €38,000 per month in rent. Using embassy grounds for such activities is against diplomatic practices and contravenes UN and EU sanctions. But despite the efforts of German authorities, operations have been continuing for years.
Like any other country, the main goal of the embassies is to serve the state and the North Korean state's priorities in particular. So because sanctions are so comprehensive now, much of the activities conducted in these embassies may be prohibited. Providing military supplies, training, and much of that has been done through North Korea's embassies, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. So out of all the countries in the Middle East currently, the Syrian Arab Republic has the greatest levels of prohibited cooperation with North Korean military entities.
Hafiz al-Assad, the father of the current Syrian despot, and Kim Il-sung were friends from the 1960s on. Back then, the North Koreans helped the Syrians during the war against Israel and supplied them with weapons and ammunition, an important source of income, right up till today. Using tactics similar to those of 18th century pirates, Bureau 39 runs ships under false flags and fake names. According to the UN, North Korea has thus managed to send large numbers of weapons and grenades to Syria. Between 2012 and 2017, at least 40 shipments from North Korea passed through the Suez Canal. But in 2018, the UN managed to have one of them intercepted.
So we found something cargo on its way to Syria. These were acid-resistant tiles and valves, which could be used in chemical weapons development, but also missile fuel is highly corrosive, and such tiles could be used for ballistic missile program as well. The bill of lading clearly gave as an address in Syria an established front company for Syria's Scientific Studies Research Center, the SSRC, which is responsible for Syria's ballistic missile and chemical weapons development program.
The chemical weapons produced in these laboratories have been used by Syria's dictator Assad against his own people for years. It's a little-known fact that the Syrian chemical weapons program was created with the help of North Korean technicians and scientists.
Syria's Scientific Studies Research Center, the SSRC, at facilities located close to Damascus, Homs, and elsewhere in Syria. And some of these sites were subsequently bombed by the United States.
More than 100 missiles were fired in the joint action, targeting suspected chemical weapons sites. President Trump declares mission accomplished, saying missile strikes against Syria by the US, Britain, and France were perfectly executed.
The purpose of our actions tonight is to establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread, and use of chemical weapons.
Well, when the Americans bombed the chemical laboratories, they bombed the North Koreans there. Yeah, whether they knew they were bombing the North Koreans, I don't know. But they did, yes. The North Korean presence in Syria is really much underreported and underappreciated. Had Syria not been able to count on North Korea to sell to it its weapons, its guided missiles, its chemical laboratories, perhaps Assad would not have emerged as a victor from this struggle.
1/3 of all buildings in Syria have been destroyed, a tragedy and a business opportunity. The Syrian regime hopes for billions from international donors for the reconstruction of the country. The necessary work brigades are to come from North Korea. The two countries signed a contract at a meeting in June 2019. Dirty deals between despots.
The money that's earned by Office 39, it goes straight into the coffers of the leadership. It is used on the one hand to provide for luxury items. It is used to pay for the Mercedes-Benz cars that somehow found their way into North Korea despite the sanctions. But it is also used, and this is probably more important, to deliver the best hackers you can train. As early as the mid-80s, Kim Jong-un started training the most talented children in terms of mathematical abilities and programming abilities to become cyber hackers. They're also good money earners. Ransomware, like the WannaCry virus, for example, is considered to come from the North Koreans.
It is the biggest cyber attack the world has ever seen. Hundreds of thousands of computers around the world in about 150 countries rendered useless. Now, the US government is publicly placing the blame for that cyber assault, uniquely dubbed WannaCry, squarely on Kim Jong-un's army of hackers. British intelligence officials and Microsoft had previously concluded that groups associated with the North Korean regime were responsible for the WannaCry hack.
In Seoul, computer specialists are hot on the heels of North Korean hackers. Simon Choi works as a consultant for South Korean intelligence agencies.
그동안 10년 동안 북한 해커들을 추적을 하면서 사실 북한이 기존에는 뭐 국방 분야나 또는 뭐 방산업체 등 아니면은 뭐 국가 기관을 대상으로 많은 해킹을 했었는데 한 2005년도부터는 점차 그들이
North Korea has limited access to the internet. Only 1,000 IP addresses are available to the country. North Korean computer specialists use them to attack other countries. Experts estimate that between 600 and 1,300 hackers work for Kim.
대표적으로 일단 금융권을 해킹하는 팀은 전 세계적으로도 좀 뭔가 두각을 나타내는 건 두 개가 있습니다. 하나가 이제 북한의 라자루스나 또는 북한에 있는 또 다른 그런 금융권을 해킹하는 팀이고, 하나가 이제 카바나기라고 하는 러시아가 아마도 배후에 있을 거라고 추정을 하는, 거의 봤을 때는 북한이 8대 2 정도로 보여지고 있습니다. 네. 그런 특징들을
Experts estimate that up to $2 billion have been stolen by young, highly trained North Korean hackers. North Korea has developed an efficient education system for its upper middle class. Here at Pyongyang Middle School, the children who will later be computer specialists, scientists and engineers are trained to shape the future of the country, at home or abroad.
Hello everybody, nice to meet you. I am Ian, I am 8 years old, but I'm a student. I can speak English, I can speak Chinese, I can speak Russian too. I'm counting on the abacus. It's really fun, thank you.
The students also learn how to use computers. They have access to a very limited North Korean version of the internet. Uncensored variety is strictly forbidden. North Korea's rulers know that once the doors to the digital world have been thrown open, they can never be shut again. But despite all precautions, in 2007, North Korea faced the first digital data leak in its history. Because a lot of classified information is now available digitally, it can easily be copied and smuggled out of the country. For example, the data of Pyongyang's municipal registry, with more than 2 million entries. Professor Breuker obtained a copy and is currently analyzing it using special software.
We never had this kind of up-to-date information ever. If you want to understand the system, the regime, the party, if you want to understand Pyongyang, if you want to understand North Korean economic activities in and outside of the country, this is really the stone of Rosetta. We can now actually go about analyzing and mapping Pyongyang for the first time, and we're no longer dependent on anecdotes, on people who tell us where all the buildings are. We can actually now see who's inside the buildings, what companies there are, what departments there are, and where you should locate them.
The data proves the main building of Bureau 39 is close to the seat of power, right in the middle of Pyongyang, just a stone's throw away from the headquarters of the Workers' Party. It's divided into 6 main departments and employs several thousand people in Pyongyang alone. They have their own fleet of vehicles, kindergartens, a golf course, an ostrich farm, and even their own bank. These 6 main departments are in turn responsible for hundreds of individual companies throughout North Korea. They control iron ore and diamond mines, jewelry factories, and textile companies. They're mainly specialized in exporting goods abroad. Other companies in the Bureau earn foreign exchange through forced labor, arms smuggling, and insurance fraud. But one rule applies to all. The name Bureau 39 is never mentioned outside North Korea, so it remains invisible. Impossible for UN sanctions monitors to detect.
자기들이 외화벌이에 가능한 여러 가지 부분을 이제 다 이제 흡수해가지고 이제 운영한다고 이제 그런 소식이 들려오는 거. 그러니까 30곳이 왜 해외에 나와서 돈을 안 버는가? 북한 국내에서의 막강한 파워를 가지고 있기 때문에 북한에서 이제 돈 될 만한 그러한 지표들을 다 30곳이 가지고 있기 때문에.
다시 말해서 일반 상품 무역부터 시작해서 관리직은 몇천 명 정도 되죠. 노동자들까지 다 하면 몇십만 명이 되고요. 저는 그러니까 다 해요. 전 everything. 어제 우리가 하는 일은 맞아요. Make dollars.
North Korea is changing. An impoverished socialist state has turned into a country with a highly flexible shadow economy. In many ways, North Korea is run like a commercial company. All that matters is cash for Kim. The workers here are no longer slaving away for the revolution, but for the wealth of their leader and his cronies. The gap between rich and poor is widening. While the population in Pyongyang enjoys a constantly growing prosperity, 40% of the rural population still suffer from malnutrition. In order to control its people, the regime employs Cold War-era socialist tactics. North Korea's shadow economy, on the other hand, is 21st century capitalist.
What the database shows, beyond any doubt, is that Office 39 not only exists, and now we can prove what it does. It owns companies, it operates these companies, it exports clothes, it exports tobacco, it exports all kinds of things. And that is actually quite an important development in understanding how North Korea manages to earn money abroad. We now know exactly through what kind of departments, through what kind of companies Office 39 does this.
The Kim Jong-suk silk spinning mill, named after Kim Jong-un's grandmother. A model factory. 1,600 workers are employed here, most of them women. They sort, process, and boil the cocoons of the silkworms to obtain the precious yarn. The silkworms come from a province south of Pyongyang. About 200 tons of silk are produced here every year. A luxury product, expensive and labor-intensive. The factory's entire production is intended for export abroad. But the supervisors are unwilling to disclose who the foreign customers are.
I'm not sure anymore who suffers under those sanctions. It's a hassle, I'm sure, for North Koreans, but they do find ways around it. One of the problems is that neither China nor Russia is helping in enforcing the sanctions.
그런 문제가 삼식거실의 전체 재정 수입에 타격을 줄 만한 정도의 그런 큰 문제는 아니었던 것 같아요. 비수기가 있는데 기본적으로 1년 365일 정말 생산이 멈추질 않아요. 우리 공장 하나에서는 1년에 뭐 몇십만 불, 100만 불, 뭐 몇백만 불까지의 국가 계획을 하죠. 그렇게 놓고 볼 때 단순히 삼식거실 산하의 회사가 800개, 900개, 1000개라고 했을 때 이걸 단순 제거업을 이제 곱하기로 할 수가 있냐?
그러면 그 피혁 공장이라 그랬나?
피복.
피복.
Garment factory.
Textiles are the second most important North Korean export product after coal.
우리가 방직공업이 아니고 우복류 만드는 거 있잖아요. 피복. 그게 기계에 소문이 났답니다. 세계적으로 소문 나는데 그게 수출 현지 되고 있는지 이에 대해서 알고 계시는지 아는 만큼만 좀.
피복 제품이요. 현재는 제 알고 있거든 일부 되는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 적지 않게 하병 형태로 되고 있습니다.
어느 나라 기업들입니다. 하병이라고 할때.
중국이 좀 있고 그다음에 저기 동남아 쪽에도 있고
소방 나라도
소방도 옛날부터 있었는데 아직 존재하는지 모르겠어요.
Dandong, China. North Korea's gateway to the world. And a symbol of how futile the UN's efforts are to dry up Kim's sources of cash. The Sino-Korean Friendship Bridge across the Yalu River has been connecting China and North Korea since 1943. It's one of the few ways to enter or leave North Korea. Every day, trucks queue in front of the customs checkpoint. Smugglers, traders, and also the agents and entrepreneurs of Bureau 39. They're all hoping for a quick deal here. China is by far North Korea's most important trading partner. Financial experts estimate that 90% of North Korea's exports go to its powerful neighbor in the north. Thousands of North Koreans are said to work in textile factories in the region. Disguised as businessmen and equipped with hidden cameras, we film in one of the factories. Chinese textile companies hire North Koreans because their wages are lower than those of Chinese workers. These seamstresses work day and night and often sleep on the company premises. They're likely to be locked up for years, far away from their families. Together with a team of labor lawyers, trade experts and data specialists, Remco Breuker tries to find out whether European brands work with Chinese companies that directly or indirectly employ North Koreans.
Well, we found out different things. One of the things we were actually hoping to establish was the use of North Korean workers in Chinese factories. But what we found, really to our surprise, is that, yes, we do have North Korean workers working under slave-like conditions in China, but more than that, Chinese factories outsource to North Korean factories in North Korea. We've managed to prove the existence of a significant amount of North Korean slave labor in the supply chain of some of the world's leading clothing companies. Basically, in Europe and in the US, we've come to an agreement that we no longer wish to find slave labor or child labor in our supply chain. So there are all kinds of agreements in place. But if you look closer at some of these producers, you find that sometimes up to 90% of their production does not take place in China. It does not take place in the factories where the European and the American auditors come to check whether working conditions are decent. Yes, they are in those factories, but that's only where 10% of the product is made. The other 90% comes from North Korea.
Breuker's team investigated one Chinese textile company more closely. It's called Vendeste. Their website states that the company relies on low labor cost and abundant human resources. Their list of customers reads like a who's who of international fashion brands. The website features a men's jacket. Next to it, it says, Korean imported. The buttons carry a label, Armani jeans. Using trade databases, Breuker's team analyzed Vendeste's business relations between 2013 and 2019. The databases used customs data showing which goods are sent back and forth between companies in different countries.
So what happens is that China sends the material to make certain types of clothes to North Korea. 1 month later, they ship back in the same container, and then you have finished clothes. Those clothes are again shipped to, say, the Netherlands or to Germany or to America. And from there, they're distributed into our stores.
Between 2013 and December 2016, Vendeste sent around $10 million worth of fabrics and raw materials to North Korea. During the same period, Vendeste received finished garments worth almost $25 million from North Korea. Customs classify textiles by so-called HS codes. A lady's sweater, for example, has a different HS code than men's jeans. We take a closer look at HS code 6201. It stands for men's anoraks and jackets, like the Armani jacket on the website. Between 2013 and December 2016, Vendeste imported garments worth $12 million with this code from North Korea. The same code is also used for deliveries from Vendeste to Europe and the US. Among the customers, Armani. Armani jackets that look exactly like the one on Vendeste's website can also be bought in Europe. This one costs €219. It can't be proven beyond doubt whether garments like this one are made in North Korea, but can it be ruled out? We ask the fashion brands. Armani writes, "We confirm that Vendeste is one of our suppliers, and as such is regularly subject to checks and inspections. The result of these checks being that no finished products are manufactured in North Korea. Like all our suppliers, it's also required to declare which subcontractors it uses, and where these are concerned, it's also the case that none are in North Korea." We've also contacted Vendeste in writing. The company offered no explanation as to why and to what extent it trades with North Korea. One thing can be said for certain. Well-known fashion brands have their goods manufactured by a Chinese company that cooperates with North Korea, a country where workers have no rights, where human life counts for nothing. Broiker's investigation shows that this is not an isolated incident.
For years and years, we've heard testimonies from North Korean escapees who were in concentration camps that they had been forced there to produce textile for the export market, for famous Western brands. And I think for the first time I've been able to corroborate that through an external source, so not through a testimony. In this same database, I found the department, the bureaucratic department that is responsible for managing the production of textiles for one of the concentration camps outside Pyongyang. It means that we not only buy clothes produced by forced laborers, maybe even slave labor, we may even buy clothes in the Netherlands, in Germany, all through Europe, in America, that was made in concentration camps by people who will never see the light of day again. These are the kinds of camps that you don't leave until you're dead. That is just too horrific to put in words. And we're complicit.
Hundreds of thousands of men and women secretly ensure the survival of the dictatorship. Their futures are sacrificed for the luxury of the regime and for our prosperity. Kim Jong-un is not a crazy dictator, but a coolly calculating businessman who runs his country like a company. His Bureau 39 does business with everything and everyone, including us.